Hello, it has been a minute. To be specific, it's been 2.5 years since I last uploaded to this channel, and I did not think that it would have taken me this long to do a new video. I really thought that I was going to maintain that channel, but I really want to catch y'all up, the 86 subscribers who have no freaking idea who I am now and saw this video pop up in their feed and was like, who's this? Because I did have a little rebrand as well, and we'll talk about that. But to get into things, I have some notes I wrote down about the last 2.5 years of my life, and I will put some photos and videos where it makes sense. So I'll be looking at both, walking through memory lane. You know, I don't do much, but 2.5 years is a long time, so things have happened. Where we last left off, I was kind of in my little fitness era. As you can see, it did not hold, unfortunately. You know, the state of the world is kind of not looking too great, but I also think COVID was a thing, and I just do not have the energy that I once used to lift as much as I did. And I also thought I would have a bit more creativity or drive to do more YouTube videos. But okay, so to take a step back real quick, the reason why I started YouTube was because I needed a creative outlet. I felt like I wanted to leave my job at the time, but around March 2022, I landed my dream job, which I am clickbaiting you a little bit, but the title is true. The title is true, and we'll get into that. But I did land a really great role, honestly. It was in an industry I really wanted to be in as well, which was video games. But at the time, I was about a year in. So yeah, let's just start with May 2023. The month after my last upload, I was finally settling into my role. It had been a year. I had gotten to see what the life cycle of being in the games industry kind of looked like, and I got to go to a lot of different conferences, events. I was working remote, so it's like I had the best of both worlds. And so I, at the time, didn't feel the need to have a creative outlet. I was honestly enjoying working, getting off of work, gardening, wink wink, you know, like California gardening a little bit, and playing video games and just going to bed, honestly. So YouTube just like really fell off my radar. It fell off of my workflow for the time. So I had a great year of just settling into that role that I really wanted to do. So May 2023, I had gotten furloughed. So the company I was with at the time, they decided to take a furlough approach so that they didn't have to do mass layoffs because, you know, COVID had a surge in gaming popularity. So there was a lot of demand for video games, and it fell off as lockdowns were unlocked down, I guess. Spring 2023 going into summer, things were not looking good, but thankfully I still did have a job. I was just furloughed for a little bit, and what that means in terms of like how they did furloughs at my company was we would only work 4 days a week and our pay was cut by a day. So 20% pay cut, but we didn't have to work Fridays, which sometimes I still did, but I was on the sales side. So we're going to get back to like being unfurloughed. It was going to be like me and my team, but there were also some times on Fridays where no one just did anything. So I was able to take some time off and really recuperate a little bit, which I honestly felt kind of nice because I still had insurance, I still had a job, I still had stable income, albeit a bit reduced. So the company that I was working for was looking to sell at that point. So they were kind of like shopping around, like looking at different buyers. And we did have a few layoffs, but not as extreme as I think some other companies had it. However, if I were to go back in time and like point at when the writing on the wall started to appear, it was that time. Going into the summer, I was unfurloughed. Thank goodness we signed, I think, a few deals. I mean, things were just progressing. I was just having a good summer in New York City and just working, getting my coins, stacking them up. And so like, honestly, like if I think back to like summer 2023, I don't know if I did anything, which sounds pretty bad. You know, that is life. And honestly, if there is ever a sign for you to document the things you've done, take pictures, take like a video, even like a little Snapchat or Instagram story, it's this, because I am like trying to look for any trace of like what I was doing at the time or like how my life was, and I can't find anything. There's like a whole, basically like COVID, I don't have any history of what I freaking did. So there's nothing to show for at this time. Okay, so then we get into fall 2023. The company I was working for got acquired. It started nice, right? And I'll explain. But it was nice because at the time, the bigger company provided stability, which was good. We also still got to operate separately because like our gaming company was the first gaming division for that, the parent company. So they kind of let us do our own thing, which was nice. I got to go to Vancouver for a conference, and I met some people from the corporate side. Honestly, there was only one or two people that I really liked. The others were kind of see you next Tuesdays, if you know what I mean. And then after that, I went to New Orleans for Unreal Fest, which was super fun. And also that was when we started hiring for my team, specifically in sales. I took that as a really good sign that things were going up. My new team member, super great. He's been in the industry for decades, so it was nice having my manager. The team was only me and my manager, so it was nice when we got a third member, and they had worked together before, and so it was good having older people in the team to really, I guess, learn about what happened in the industry and their experiences. They had a lot to teach, so that was kind of nice. And so I had just taken that as a sign that things were going well. So going into winter 2023 and about to be 2024, I went home for Christmas and New Year's, which is, I think, always, it's both nice and not nice. And it's nice in the sense that I do like seeing family, and I do like taking a step back from being away or being in a large city, but it's also not nice in that things just started to feel like I grew up in Texas, right? So in Texas, it just started to feel not home anymore. So whenever I would visit home, it just felt like I was in limbo for the 2 weeks I was visiting. And also nothing happened in New York City during that time. I don't remember, maybe I went out for a couple of nights, nothing memorable. And also that was a time when my roommates brought up the fact that her living situation may change, and so she may not be able to renew the lease. And y'all, we had a bomb ass fucking apartment in New York City, in freaking Manhattan, in Hell's Kitchen. And I'll get to it when I show you guys when I moved out. But the ending screen that I used to do a lot, that was my view, and it was so beautiful. It was so nice. That was the kind of initial push of oh no, we gotta move out. And I started to think, I had at that time too also been thinking about getting out of New York City. I do love the city. I still love the city, and I think I would still enjoy living there. However, it's a lot of money to be living there. It's so fast paced. You don't get a lot of space. And I think I was just getting to the point in my life where I realized I don't take advantage of the city. I like staying at home. I like being in bed. I like playing video games. I do not like being outside. So I was not properly enjoying the city, and my rent was going towards that. So the writing was on the wall, living situation wise as well. Let's put it that way. And so we go to spring 2024. At that point, I knew I wasn't going to renew my lease. My roommate confirmed that their living situation will need to change. And so we lived there for a good 3 years. We got a fantastic COVID-esque deal where I think we got 2-3 months off. And then our rent at the time was $5,000 something, split 3 ways. Not that bad for New York City, not that bad for Manhattan, not that bad for Hell's Kitchen, especially because it's in the middle of the city, where people want to be, right? So, beer back. Don't mind me. I got some sorbet to snack on while we film this because I need to pick me up. There's this YouTuber, Tisha, who did an apartment hunting series because she needed to find a new apartment in New York City. Homegirl went to 40, almost 50 different apartments before she found the apartment that she signed a lease for. And I was like, hell fucking nah. There is no way I'm gonna be doing that. Living in New York, that was my 4th apartment. And oh my gosh, every year when we had to do the apartment hunting dance, I just hated it so much because it's stressful. The demand to live in New York City, especially in Manhattan, is insanely high. Me and my roommates had similar requirements, but also we had to consider their commute. We also had to consider spacing, what neighborhood we all wanted to be at, location of groceries, because we all wanted to cook at home to save money. I just knew I did not want to go through the apartment hunting process in New York City ever again. I also knew that I could not pay rent by myself and live at the standard of living I had gotten used to in my apartment, because we were in a luxury high rise and everything was insanely nice. And if I were to, set like a reasonable and like responsible budget for myself, it would have been like some dingy ass ground floor level apartment with no washer and dryer in unit. Ew, I do not want to do that ever again. It was giving a season finale of New York City for me, and honestly I was kind of okay with it. But during the springtime, I went to San Francisco to go to the Game Developers Conference. I got to eat good food. I went to like a few like really nice restaurants. One I remember being called Shota, which questionable name, but it was delicious. My boss at the time really enjoyed Japanese food. He would try to hunt for places where we could have sushi and Japanese food in general. And then I spent the weekend after GDC staying in San Francisco and hanging out with my friend. That's kind of like it was my ritual for the time being for that job, where they would fly me out from New York to go to a conference in San Francisco. Everyone left like Thursday night or like Friday morning, so I would spend Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday with my friend, and then fly back to New York to start my work again on Monday. And so I got to hang out with my friend. It was also always nice. We had some food, we had some edibles, and I think we just watched like a few true crime documentaries, and it was just really chill. And she had been my friend since I started my adult life, because we worked at the same company. We also went to the same school, but we weren't friends during school. But like it kind of sucks like when your friend moves away from you so far, but it was nice being able to like just chill and do nothing together again. So then I came back from my work trip. I had an Easter brunch with my other friend. Shout out to her. She makes good food and like she sets it up really cutesy. I think I just have one little picture to show y'all. And then after that, I went to another friend's flower arrangement party beta test, because she at the time was starting up like a side hustle of doing floral work, and she wanted to start also doing some classes to see if she could get a bit more money. I've learned from her that the floral scene in New York City is toxic. Those bitches, the master florists that do like weddings or like big events, are like toxic and they do not pay. So her thought was like, what if I just do like a flower arrangement class that friends could book or like couples could book and make some money off of that? And it was super fun. I got to meet some of her other friends, loved it. And then later in the spring, I flew back home. Honestly, I brought like some high value things that were reasonably sized back home, because in my head, I like didn't know where I was going to live. I knew I was going to move out of New York City. I didn't know to which city, but in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, worst comes to worst, I'm going to move back home with my parents for a little bit. So it's safer to just like fly home, bring like, I think it mainly technology, all my high value tech items I brought home during a trip. And it was nice seeing my parents in the context I usually don't see them in, because in my adult life, I would only fly home for Christmas, New Year's for 2 weeks. And so I just hated flying back and forth for work and also to see them. So it's like, y'all get me once a year, but it was nice seeing them in the spring for like a couple of days while I was there. And then May, I decided to book a trip to Los Angeles because I was working in the gaming industry. And so if there was another city for me to move to, it was just going to be LA. And I'm also interested in media and entertainment. And this is kind of the epicenter. Not so much nowadays, but culturally, and like there are still people here that do work in that field. And so I thought, I have a job in games, let me go to the city where games are mostly made. I understand that games are made worldwide, but Los Angeles, you got Riot, you got maybe down in the OC, Irvine, you got Blizzard, you've got a lot of tech companies here as well. And also, I think the economy here is just strong. And so I thought if I didn't want to work my job anymore, there would be more opportunities here than in Texas. So I was like, fuck it. Like, let me book a week, take a week of PTO, and see if I can lock down an apartment. So I flew there, I think Friday, Saturday. And so the weekend, people were not doing apartment tours, I don't think. So I decided to go to WeHo Pride. It was also coincidentally WeHo Pride weekend, and I got to walk basically all of West Hollywood, the main street where all the cute little shops are, and see the parade. It was kind of fun. I was only looking in basically like a few areas, and I was able to do all of my apartment tours mostly in 2 days. And on the second day, early in the day, I had found an apartment that I really liked, obviously the one I'm in now. And so I submitted my application. I went to do a few other tours, came back. I was like, okay, what are my freaking next steps? I want to book this apartment now. And they're like, okay, for you to get the deal, blah, 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 blah. Y'all know the apartment hunting process. Y'all know signing a lease, like that whole process. I was able to do all of that and like get them my check by Friday of the week I was in LA for. So that was nice. So I had basically 5 other days to just chill and do nothing almost. So I went to the museum, the LA County Museum of Art. And I also hung out with my manager boss at the time, and he took me to go eat at Whole Box, which is, okay, it's like south of downtown LA. It is amazing food. Honestly, had never really, I mean, I've tasted Mexican seafood, but oh my gosh, they did it so well. All the flavors were so fresh, so good. And it's honestly one of my favorite places. Maybe I'll take myself there solo one day. So that was the end of May, early June. And then I flew back mid-June, and starting mid-June, I started packing all my shit. I think I shipped out 8 or 9 boxes. Initially, I was gonna hire movers to move the majority of my stuff coast to coast. But then my mom was like, I have a family friend whose son is moving to New York City for dental school. Actually, I think she told me this like a few months before I moved, but I was like, wait a minute, does he need furniture? Because I wanted to get rid of my bed, my desk, my chair. And I thought about initially selling it, but if I were to sell it, I wouldn't have anywhere to like really work or sleep. So he was able to wait until like basically my last day in New York City to get my furniture. So that worked out well. Yeah, I could have made a profit, or not a profit. I could have made some money selling my stuff, but it felt really good to like give it away to like someone who actually really needed it. He's gonna be a dentist. Like he's gonna be fixing people's teeth. And I like, you know, we love seeing like a little Vietnamese kid on the come up. So I felt really good about just like giving him my stuff and not having to sell it because I didn't want to deal with that. But then all my medium / like smaller size furniture I sold, and then if I wasn't able to sell it, I gave it away on Facebook Marketplace, buy nothing groups. And then all my little knickknacks, all my little stuff, I was able to ship, I think, within 8 or 9 boxes, and it costed me $800 to $900, which I think if I had hired movers from New York to LA, I've heard it was like $1,500. And I didn't have that much stuff to take, so it wasn't going to be more than $2,000. You know, I don't think I really gained much by shipping my stuff, but it did make things easy where I was able to let go of a lot of my larger items and just keep all of my things I had been accumulating over the years. I got rid of some clothes that I wasn't wearing anymore, which was nice. And so packed all my bags, and y'all have to see what my room looked like when everything was gone. I slept on a comforter, a sheet for that night. And then in the morning, I don't think I took it. I think I actually put it in like a trash bag and just threw it away, which I know is wasteful, but it's like, that was my last night. I needed something to sleep on, and I wasn't able to take it with me. So the best I could do was just throw it away. And you know what? I have had that comforter for like a few years at that point. So it was kind of time to let it go anyways, if I'm being honest. The night before I moved out and left New York, I went to have Korean barbecue with my roommates and saw a bus trying to get through K-Town. Who the fuck drives through motherfucking K-Town in Manhattan in the fucking bus? Because it was having a hard time squeezing through some of the other cars. So like there was a man trying to like guide the bus out, because I also think someone just double parked that wasn't responding to the bus. It was kind of a scene. It was kind of cute. When I flew back into New York from LA, I just appreciate it. And it was the summer, so I was able, I just saw like how magical New York City was, and like there honestly, in the United States, there is just no other city that is as lively as Manhattan or like New York, because everywhere else, like, you need a fucking car and everything is so spaced out. You don't see people ever. On my way from the airport, from JFK back to my place, people were out, people were walking, people were eating outside. It felt so nice. And I was actually really insanely sad to leave New York, because I just know that no other city compares in that aspect. And so morning of, I flew out. I had took like a dorky ass selfie, but it was just, it was my way of saying like, I was here, like I lived here for 3 years. I enjoyed it. I did not make a mark on New York City, but New York City did make a mark on me, and I am forever grateful that I was able to do that straight out of college. I know it is a lot of people's dream to be able to move to New York and like have that New York lifestyle, and like, I was able to do it for 6 years. That was a big closing chapter. It kind of hit me pretty hard and fast, because what the hell, at that time I was also thinking I was not ready to leave. There was so much more I could have done. My last year in New York didn't go the way I thought it would go. I thought, you know, I would get my own apartment. Fuck it. Like, I'll just spend money, get my own apartment no matter how much it costs, and like live it up for 1 year and then like move home for a little bit. But it didn't happen like that. I made the decision to move out of New York, never having been able to live alone. I know like not a lot of people can say that. Realistically, like, you really can't live alone in New York City because of how expensive it is. But it was a dream. Like, I wanted my own space. But I also wanted to be in the city. So bittersweet is a good way of describing it. I wish I had another word because bittersweet I think is overused sometimes, but you know, it was bitter. I was fucking bitter, but it was also sweet being grateful of being able to live there, but also being excited about my next city. And so at the end of June, yeah, I think like the last few days of June, I flew out to LA with my 2 bags and got my keys, received my packages. Thankfully, my apartment is so nice. I was like, hey, I some of my boxes came earlier than I expected. It's probably piling up in front of my door. Can you please just open the door and like slide my shit in? And they did. All my stuff came. I was able to get everything settled in. I got a bed. Like, I got a nice bed. I got a nice couch. I bought a Herman Miller new, so it was fucking expensive. But I didn't have a car, so I was like, I was not going to be able to get a secondhand Herman Miller back if I wanted to like go see it, try it out, and then like drive it back home. I wasn't going to be able to do that, and I also had work, so I was like, I need a chair, meow. I need a desk, meow. So I basically just have the same setup I had in New York City. Like, if you go back and like look at my desk setup video from I think a few videos prior, it basically looks like that, but you know, upgrade a little bit. And so I spent all of July basically moving in, settling in. It was so much. It was a lot. I just never want to move ever again. And then at that time too, work finally transitioned over to me being in the parent company. So like previous to that, we were still operating like as if we were our own company, except we were also employees of the parent company. Honestly, I didn't like it because who the fuck in video game development knew what like my company was doing, like the parent company? No one had ever heard of it. So it was kind of like embarrassing a little bit, but at the same time, it was nice because I started getting commission checks. And then in September, my other friend, who's part of my friend group, had a work event that she was going to fly from New York to San Francisco. So I booked a trip to San Francisco. And so me and my friends stayed together for a weekend, and we visited the Redwoods, Muirwoods or whatever it's called, Redwoods National Park. And it was super nice. I had some Charlie horses, and you know, that is probably a sign for me. I need to like hit the gym a little bit more, but we got through it. It was like a really nice hike. We spent like, I think 3, almost 4, I think it was just 3 hours there. The area where the Redwoods National Park is located in is also super cute. Very white, but at the same time very quaint and like super cute. We did a little bit there. We also drove to like another neighboring little town to go see some shops, and that was pretty much it. That was like the weekend, and then I flew back home, obviously. And so in October, I got to go to Seattle for Unreal Fest. I hated my time there work-wise because honestly, Unreal Fest, I was in a sales role. Unreal Fest is 100% meant for people actually doing game development, like doing the engineering, doing the art, doing the UI, like all of that were using Unreal Engine tools, which I was not. I had never opened Unreal Engine ever in my life, so like I didn't even know why I was there. I went to like some talks. A few of them were like business related, but most of them were very technical, and I had no fucking idea what I was doing there. But you know, like I'm not gonna complain about getting a little free trip because I had only ever visited Seattle as a kid because I did have family friends out there. I had never seen it as an adult, so like it was nice walking through downtown. People will say, you know, like it's deteriorating. There were a lot of drug users, which there kind of were. Like I was actually kind of surprised by the amount of drug usage or drug dealing I had seen out in the open. The sun had not even set at that point, but people were shooting it up. You know, that is life. People have to cope with life one way or another. And I'm not about to like judge people because like, you know, as an adult now, like I see what this world really is. Yeah, if I couldn't handle things and like, you know, we're really close to that point, I'd be shooting up too. Hell, also something else cool that I was able to do, I went to the Museum of Pop Culture. It was supposed to be like a little party where like people would mingle. I mingled with no one. I mingled with nobody there. So I just went through all of the little exhibits, which were super cute. and then I took my ass home. So after that trip, things at work started to unravel a little bit. You know how I said earlier, if there was ever writing on the walls, the furlough was like the start of it. This was definitely a point in time where the writing was on the wall. The writing was painted on the fucking walls, you know what I mean? But I was still optimistic. I think rather than laying off people, talented people that I knew were leaving for other opportunities, morale started to slip a lot. And, you know, the games industry is now contracting a lot now too, because people just aren't playing at the level they were 5 years ago. So sales weren't great either. I was still getting commission checks, of course, like we were still selling contracts and going through the motions, but not at the volume that happened 2, 3, 4 years prior. I came home from that trip, I got sick, which pissed me the frick off because I didn't even want to go to Unreal Fest because I knew there was nothing for me there, but I was supposed to go to like babysit the executives that were going. So I was fucking pissed. I think I spent like 3-4 days, honestly a whole week sick. Mask up, for real, mask up. When I started to feel better was coincidentally also when Cyclovia happened, Cycle LA Via, like Cycle LA Life, where a bunch of volunteers organizing and working with the city to close down a few streets. Sometimes it's like a long street, sometimes it's a few streets, sometimes it's shorter, but they shut down a strip of streets, roads, where people will then ride their bikes, ride scooters, or walk, or just like be on foot, like not drive. In LA, like it's kind of crazy where LA has the best weather, I think in the US, but no one walks, no one, you know, bikes, no one scoots. Everybody is in their freaking cars. It's just crazy. It kind of is in a bit to show there is demand for bike lanes. There is demand for being able to walk. I loved it. I am a big believer in Cyclovia. That was my first and only one so far. I haven't been back. They do it like every month, every other month, but sometimes like I'm not in town. Sometimes like it's far away from me and I don't want to get there. I don't have a bike. When I go to Cyclovia, like I walk or like I do one of the Metro bike rentals. But it was nice. I probably will try to do another one this fall when the weather's a bit cooler. And then in December, nothing really happened that November, honestly, I don't think. In December, I visited home, met up with friends, and then I met up with a college friend I had not seen since like the pandemic. Like she visited me in New York City, but after that, like pandemic happened, people, you know, like people started to slow down, people started not traveling it a lot. And I wouldn't say I lost contact, but it's just like our lives were not in the same vicinity. So we just really did not have anything to talk about, but it was just so nice seeing her. And like we yapped for 3 or 4 hours. I think we were still yapping when they started closing down the restaurant, so we felt a little bad. So super nice, super lovely. And then I came back to LA, and then end of January I went to Vietnam for Tet, and I got to see my family that I haven't seen since pre-pandemic. Like I think the last time I saw them was in 2019. It was super nice. I got to see all of the different celebratory markets. People were selling flowers. People came up from the countryside to like sell their flowers that they had been growing for the year prior. You know, if there was ever a time that I needed to connect with my roots, like it was definitely this year. I am so impressed and amazed and thankful that, you know, my motherland has been able to develop so rapidly. It was good seeing my family. It was good seeing how the city that they grew up in was able to develop. I know there are likely still issues, but it's so much cleaner, so much nicer, so much more exciting than when I had visited when I was like a little kid. So that was nice. I ate a lot of good food, went downtown, did some gambling in-house. It was so nice. I think after that trip was when I realized, like, I never thought I would say that like I wanted to live in Vietnam, but with the way the US is going, you know, I really could move out there. And honestly, I wouldn't mind finishing my life out there either. I just don't know like how that would work, you know? And so, okay, came back in the springtime. I visited the Riot headquarters for work. It was slightly surreal because I had played League of Legends since beta and season 0 basically. And so I always wanted to like see the Riot HQ. My first character that I really learned how to play well was Annie, because mid lane, you know, our little teddy bear, and like I think just being a mage mid really connected with me. So she was the first character I really learned, and so it was kind of surreal seeing the Tibbers and Annie statue at the Riot headquarters. And then I went to GDC again in the springtime, and Now, oh my goodness, the writing was definitely on the walls. Like, okay, it started appearing my second year in the games industry. It definitely appeared, I think, in the fall, and now like it was screaming at me. Like the walls was squirting. Like she was on me at that point, right? Because when I met with buyers in the gaming development market, people were not looking for US or Canadian developers. Like they were looking offshore, cheap. That trend has honestly, I don't think ever happened in video games before. It started happening in tech. I think that's pretty obvious. It was happening in tech mid 2010s, but now mid 2020s, the gaming industry caught up with the outsourcing. And so to me, that was a sign that the games market in the US jobs wise was contracting a lot. And it didn't feel good. A lot of my coworkers were from Canada and the US. I mean, we employed people across the world, but mainly we were concentrated Canada, US. With that comes a lot of, people with experience and quality, but with higher salary requirements. It kind of sucked not being able to advocate for my coworkers in that sense. And then as the weather became a bit warmer, I started gardening. Not California gardening, actual gardening on my balcony. One day I will show y'all. It's been nice. Like it's been tough trying to like make things grow. And I think I picked not the best plants to be growing in my containers, but it is what it is. I want to show you guys one day, but because it's on my balcony, you can see where I live. So I do not want to dox myself. I don't want to give anything away about where I'm living. When I figure out how to like blur things correctly, I do want to show off a little bit. It was nice starting my balcony garden because in a sense, like I was able to start connecting with nature a little bit. I live in the city, but I do have like a little green oasis on my balcony that I get to tend to. And just skipping a bit forward, I'm seeing hummingbirds. I'm growing some flowers, so I'm seeing hummingbirds come up to my little flowers, and it's so nice because I don't think I've ever really seen hummingbirds. If I'm honestly thinking about it, I don't think I've really noticed or like seen hummingbirds ever in my life. Just like in a day-to-day life, I've probably seen them in zoos or like at like parks that have a lot of flowers. Like what do you call those? Arboretums. In my day-to-day life, like in the city, you don't see that a lot. So it is really nice. But started gardening. I also started picking up music production. I bought Ableton on a whim during a sale, but also because I had came across a video where like a music producer walk you through what he does to like make a song. And in like 28 minutes, I was like, wait a minute, like I could do that. I know how to play with programs. I know how to like manipulate things. So, and I had always wanted to learn like how to do some music production. And so I was like, you know what, fuck it. Ableton is on sale. Like I got money, like I got my commission check. So let me just buy a license for Ableton. I bought it and I like started remixing some songs. And so we get to June, like today, as I'm recording this, it is mid-August. We get to June 2025. This was when things popped the fuck off. So my parents had planned to visit me in June and I was like excited to see them. I had taken off a week, like 5 days of PTO to like try and take them around and do stuff. The morning they landed, I had a meeting on my calendar. Y'all know where this is going. One of the executives that wasn't on my team was like, hey, like I know you're gonna be on PTO, but if you're able to, like, can you please join this meeting? Like I don't know what he fucking knew what it was about. I don't know what it's about, but it would be really important for you to join. So like if you're able to, just log on and like join the meeting. Turns out the meeting was me getting laid off. The parent company decided after a year of operating with a games division that they didn't know how to fucking handle it, and they did not do their fucking due diligence at all. So rather than keeping the division, they just decided to lay everyone off. So I was part of the layoff, unfortunately. And you know what? Thankfully, I had taken my PTO to go to Vietnam. Now I regret not taking like a full 2 weeks. I think I took 10 days in Vietnam. I regret not doing like a full 2 to 3 weeks of just PTO because I had unlimited. So like they didn't pay that out anyways. I got a nice little severance check, but I did not build up any PTO. But the small blessing in that was that I was really able to disconnect because there was no work for me to return to. They were like, you know what? You cease operating. Remember to take all your personal files and like ship us back the laptop. And I was like, great, let me do that. Because I did not want to. It also came at like a good time too, because at that time, like I was kind of feeling a little uneasy about working there. Not that there was anything wrong, like it was just a really chill setup, but at the same time, I stopped learning, you know, like I got to a point where things were getting boring to me. I was California gardening midday, which, you know, I'm not going to judge anyone for doing that. But for me, like, what was I doing? Like, was I really that bored? Like, was I, you know, so unmotivated? Was I just like giving up? And like the answer was yes. Like I was kind of shutting down because although the work was good and like, you know, the money was great, like I was just not being challenged creatively anymore. So I was leaning on California gardening. And you know what? I will make a separate video about that. You know, I think that's a whole topic in itself. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise a little bit. It does suck not having income, but for the rest of June, while my parents were here with me, I rented a car, took them down to OC to see like the Vietnamese area. We got to visit some like family friends that they haven't seen in a while. And it really opened my eyes. Perhaps being smack dab in the middle of the city maybe isn't for me long term. I think I still want to do it for the next couple of years, but dude, the football part of LA, like down deep where the OC is, I know it is kind of hillbilly out there with the MAGAs, but there's a lot of good Vietnamese food. And perhaps, you know, like I am considering moving a bit closer there so that I have access to like Vietnamese food, because up here in central LA, like LA, you can find it, but it's kind of hard. It's just, I don't think it's as good as Garden Grove, OC, LA, you know what I mean? Or OC, SoCal. My bad. And then part of my parents' trip too, they have my dad's friend from like his childhood took us to Disneyland, and it was super fun. It was unexpected because like I did not expect to like be at a fucking amusement park with them, or that they would have the energy to spend an entire day at the amusement park. But we did. It was super fun. Got to ride all the rides. Not all of them, but a lot of the really nice ones. It was also eerily quiet. Like I think if I say June, July 2025 in LA, like y'all know what happened. Y'all know what's happening across this nation. And so it was eerily quieter than normal is one way I'll put it. However, you know, the lines were shorter, so it was kind of fun. And, you know, I'm trying to make light of things a little bit because that's how we got to cope, you know? And then I had a friend visit me. We went to Universal Studios and we bought our tickets before I got laid off. So I was like, you know what, girl, we got money. We might as well buy the Fast Pass or whatever the thing was called and, you know, spend our money. Like we make good money. Like why are we going to wait in the freaking sun in the smack dab middle of summer in LA? And so because it was July 4th weekend, instead of the Fast Pass being $170, it was like 300 something, 350 almost, I think. That's a steep price. However, you know, at the end of the day, it was very worth it because we went on all of the rides. We skipped all of the lines. I don't think the lines were that long because, you know, the way things are unraveling, there's a lot less people partaking in entertainment in the US. Was it necessary? No. But was it nice? Yes, because we were able to get the whole park done by like 4 or 5 p.m. And so we got out of there before it got dark. And then after that, I went to the Getty. I had another friend who visited as part of her layover, and she wanted to go see the Getty. So I met up with her there. Beautiful museum. I think the architecture at the Getty is so nice, so beautiful. And rather than the artwork itself, I was just taking hella pictures of the buildings. So during the time that I was laid off and like sparse in between all of the events I was speaking about, I started streaming on Twitch, which is where I think I want to take this conversation a little bit. There's a bit more of like what I've been up to, but I started streaming video games on Twitch. I play on my treadmills because after getting laid off, I was like, you know what? This is a good time for me to focus on my physical health because I had let it slip in the past year of feeling a little bit uneasy about life, but also like living on my own. No one is holding me accountable to going to the gym. I don't have a gym buddy. So like my diet was slipping, my physical health was slipping. And so I was like, you know what? Because I don't have a 9-to-5 anymore, let me be on my treadmill and let me play video games. And I was like, you know what? Let me also freaking stream and get into that world. So I spent like a good 2 to 3 weeks grinding on stream. Like I would play video games 2 to 4 hours every day. And like I would take those gameplays and turn them into videos. And so if you noticed, I've rebranded, and we'll get into that in a bit as well. But I also have like a gaming YouTube channel. So I did that for about a good month-ish. And then I was honestly planning to take the entire summer off. So like I was not going to look for a new job until the very end of August. You know, with the way the job market was going or is going, I don't think I would have found a new job until the new year anyways. So my full plan was like to really grind on Twitch, really grind on getting my gaming YouTube set up and seeing where it goes for the next few months. However, partway through July, my old boss reached back out to me And he was like, hey, if you haven't found a new job just yet, I have someone who needs help with their company for like 3 months. And so he was like, you need to ask for this amount, like don't settle for anything less. So like, you know, he introduced me to that person, but he was also coaching me of like what I should be asking for monetary compensation wise. And so like, I'm very thankful that he was watching out for me and he had my back. And so I spoke to his friend, the quote unquote new manager, and we clicked in a sense. Like I had worked for my manager for 3 years at that point, over 3 years, and he knew what I was like as an employee. So his recommendation meant a lot to his friend. And so like, I think I like had one phone call with the dude and he was like, actually, when can you start? And I was like, immediately. Like, I don't have anything else I'm doing, I guess. But in the back of my mind, I was like, damn, I really wanted to like grind on Twitch and YouTube for a bit before I started like a full-time job again. But knowing that this was or is a temporary job and that like I would go back to like being unemployed mid-October, I was like, okay, I could use the money. The money looks good. I was unprepared for when I got laid off from my previous job. But now, like, I know that whatever I make in these next 3 months, I will need to save. Now I can like build up my nest egg even further. Is that the right word? My safety net a bit more so that I am able to stay in LA, because really I do want to stay in LA. I don't want to move back home. It is an option, and I'm thankful that my parents, you know, aren't the type of parents to cut me off and not have me move in with them. They want me to move back home with them. And I'm thankful for that. Like I have like a safety net that way, but I also want to stay in LA. Like I want to be in a big city. I wanted to pursue like YouTube and Twitch. And that sounds crazy. Like the boy's almost freaking 30, but I have always loved this creative outlet, digital outlet. And I don't know why I didn't start streaming earlier. Maybe it's because I was living with people. It was kind of embarrassing. But July, when I was streaming, grinding out on stream and like cutting up all my gameplay into videos, I think that was one of the happiest times in my life. The other happiest times was like me being in Vietnam, being away from capitalism for a little bit. And so July was like such a really nice breather before I started my job. I think I started my job the last day of July. And you know, I'm not going to say anything because I'm still working here and this could turn into a full-time job. But if I'm being honest, I was really looking forward to building something of my own. But I think in the same vein, now that I'm in a role that I am not vibing as much as I was with my other role, it's pushing me to be a bit more creative. It's pushing me to look for other creative outlets. And so even as I am working full-time now, I'm still on the weekends grinding on Twitch, and then during the week I will edit my gameplay videos so that I could post them on YouTube. So for the next 3 months, I will be working full time, and I'm hoping that I can take time off after this role. I think I'm scheduled to stop working mid-October. Depending on how things go, they said that they were going to open a full-time role in the new year. So I am looking to take end of October off, November off, December off, and really focus more on my streaming and YouTube and trying to build a repertoire of content that's just going to be there, that exists. So if ever things were to take off, I would have content ready to go. So here we get into kind of the future of this channel and the rebrand. So if you noticed, this is not the Casual Commons anymore. I did really enjoy that branding, but it felt 90% there. It didn't feel like 100% me. So when I came up with the username Huxillium for my gaming channel, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a killer ass username because no one else has it. No one else cares to use it. It's cute. People shorten it to Hux. And that's exactly what I want to be known as my internet persona. So for the foreseeable future, I think my main priority will be the gaming YouTube channel. This channel will, I still will post, like I have a few more ideas of what I want to do for this channel. But I think the format now, rather than being in New York City, like doing vlogs, not that I was doing any of that, but I had the intention, right? It's going to be a lot more sit down and just talking, you know, like if I do exciting things or like if I go anywhere and I film it, like I will cut up into a vlog, but I just don't know if I have the time or energy to dedicate to making really funnily edited videos anymore. I think the most I can really do is like cut up stuff, add some pictures in, and just think of ways to like speak directly to you guys. And you know, I used to do a lot of personal finance videos. And if I'm being honest, like it just doesn't feel right anymore because you can't really personal finance your way out of capitalism crumbling, and it sucks. It just doesn't feel like there's anything anymore. I was good with saving my money. I still am good with saving my money, and like I do plan on retiring early if I can, hopefully. But every year it gets harder and harder and harder to just survive, let alone thinking about retirement. So it's like, you know what, if retirement is that far away, like might as well just have fun with my life now. So no use in doing personal finance videos. I thought about maybe I can do skincare videos, but you have to consume so much to be able to keep up with all the new products launching. And I don't do that. There's just not enough inventory coming in, coming out for me to sustainably, reliably do reviews on YouTube. And I'm not saying that like I'm not going to do skincare videos, because there are things like I do consume, you know, like I do consume and like I want to review stuff, but I just don't think I'm able to niche down into one specific category. So my plan for this YouTube channel is, I call it my main channel and like IRL channel, which it really is, but it is going to be second priority to the gaming channel. I hope it's not going to be like another 2.5 years before I post anything on this YouTube channel, but I think anything off stream, anything non-gaming related that I want to discuss, I'm going to do it here. And now that I have this setup ready to go, like a streaming setup with a mic and a webcam and everything, now it feels like I can do more videos, right? Like I took a year, like I bought this freaking mic stand. I've had this mic and I had not this webcam, but a different one for a year. And like, I just never set this fucking arm up, and I don't know why. I don't know. But you know what? I think that's it. I've caught you up on the last 2.5 years of my life. I hope y'all are doing better than I am in a sense. Not that I think I'm doing bad, but damn, time flies by. Time really left me behind. I think COVID really changed up a lot of things for a lot of people. I just did not think it would change things up in this way for me. And I'm glad now that I have something I want to work towards, because in the past like 2-3 years, I was kind of stumbling, honestly. I started this YouTube channel because I needed a creative outlet. I've played video games since RuneScape, since I was like 5, and like since I could read. At the Vietnamese supermarket, there was like a PC bang, a PC little area where like you could pay to like play video games or you could pay to use a PC for like an hour. Whenever my mom would go to the grocery store, she would like pay for an hour for me to play. I looked over to the side of me and saw this girl playing RuneScape, and I was like, runescape.com. And so I've been playing since like kindergarten, since first grade. And I don't know why it took me this long to like really consider making video game content. I guess I know why. There was a period in my life where I had dropped video games. I stopped playing a lot of video games in honestly the second half of high school. I think once I hit junior year, I was extremely focused on getting the best grades in AP classes so that I could get into college, because in my head, I knew that the way to escape Texas and for me to like have my own life was, girl, I was trying to run away, goddamn, was education. So I was focused on getting into a good school. And once I got into a good school, I was focused on getting into a good major. Once I got into a good major, I was focused on having a good GPA so that I could maintain my scholarships so that I wouldn't get kicked out. And so once I maintained my good grades, I was focused on getting an internship, because to get a really high paying job where I wanted, I needed an internship. So once I got that internship, I focused on that internship. And once I was done with that internship, I focused on re-recruiting. And once I was done with, once I accepted my return offer, I got the hell out of Texas and moved to New York. And so during those years of like late high school, all the way through my first few years of working, I did not play video games that much. I had like a janky ass laptop that I would play, and then I got a Switch, but video games stopped being a focus until COVID. I think COVID was when Among Us kind of blew up and Twitch kind of blew up, and for me at least, in what I wanted to watch or what I like to watch. And I was like, you know what? I've been working for a couple of years. I can buy like a PC, like a gaming PC. And so I did. And so I'd start playing more video games, not at the level I am now. I've definitely regressed in the sense of, damn, is that all there is to life? But honestly, yeah, like I love playing video games. It's so much fun. So that's why for a time in my life, I didn't think that games were going to be a focus of my life anymore. But now that I do have a gaming PC, it brings me a lot of joy. There are times where I do get sick of it, but overall, like, it's been a nice escape from everything that's going on. And, you know, I play 3, 4, 5 hours some days, and why not stream it? You know, why not make videos out of it? Why not make some content and see where it goes? And so, you know what? I'm going to call it there. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening to me yap. If you want more content, catch me live on Twitch. Check out my gaming YouTube channel, Huxillium. Please stay subscribed to this channel. Like, I know the rebrand is kind of weird, but, you know, from now on, I will be known as Hux. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.